Okay, so I want to talk about bullet molds and bullet designs for a few minutes. There are a lot of them out there. Some a lot better than others. Some not so much. So I've got a pretty good selection of different types of bullets here. Actually, I'm missing one. Oops. There. Okay, now I've got a good selection. Actually, that should be this way. Some bullets will drop quite easy, some don't. It usually comes down to the grease grooves. So I'll just tell you what I got here for molds. This is a modified Lee mold. It's their 311-100 that I've drilled out all the driving bands, and I've drilled a little bit into the last grease groove, just enough to give that grease groove a bit of a angle to it. What I'm trying to do there is eliminate a 90-degree shelf. This is the same thing. This is a little better design. This one I had cut by a Arsenal Molds. This is cut with no grease bands. It's got a crimp groove, and it's got a little bit of a bevel on the base. This is made for high tech or powder coating. Works pretty good. This one here is a Ranch Dog 3030 mold. This one has no application for grease or application for gas checks. At the end of the month I'm getting 2 more of these or 3 more of these. I'm gonna change them over to grease grooves now that I've got the powder coating system. These don't do very well for powder coating because they always fall over when I'm trying to spray them. Then we have a Lee 9mm. This is an accurate bullet mold for the 43 Mauser. Now, the angle on these driving bands is not quite 90 degrees. There's a bit of a bevel on them, which make this one drop pretty good. The worst ones you can get are ones that have 90-degree driving bands, and that may be good for holding, you know, conventional grease, but they hang up. You got to tap them out. Here's a 3030, same thing. Pretty much all Lee molds are that way, and a lot of other ones as well. The rounded edges, or sorry, the rounded nose is a help too, because when you have a flat nose, sometimes that flat is setting in half the mold, and the bullet, when it comes out of the mold, it's got to kind of flip down like this, where a round nose can just slip straight down from there. So if you're looking for molds that are very convenient, very easy to use, that's one of the first things that you want to look for is, you know, is my bullet what's hanging things up, or is it the mold? So I always look for this type of stuff. Avoid the 90-degree angles. That pretty much covers the bullet part of it. Now when it comes to the mold themselves, there's all kinds of different materials they're made out of. I like aluminum ones because I usually do small batches and they're quite light. I had a few steel ones, I found them extremely heavy. This is an old Lee mold, this is a new Lee mold. This is an Arsenal mold. So, the old Lee molds they have a right hand thread screw here which backs out when you open it and loosens the plates. The new ones have a left hand thread screw to solve that problem. Oh, I got that backwards. These ones have a left hand screw, they do, the new ones. The old ones that have the right hand screw, they back out when you close the mold. They tried to solve that by putting a left-hand screw in, or changing the pitch. But now, instead of backing out when you close them, they back out when you open them, so they really haven't done anything. There's a simple method of fixing that. I've done it here with a self-tapping screw. Try and get this to show up best I can. Take the screw plate off. I drilled in with the self-tapper into the hole for the screw, and then I put the screw back in. I cut the self-drilling tip off the self-tapper and then put it back in and jammed it. I put it a little too high, so I couldn't leave the head on it. I had to cut the head off, so then I had to leave a bunch sticking out. That's that. Most other molds will have a set screw here, both ends, either on the end or on the side, one of the two, doesn't matter. But they'll have a set screw to lock your pivot pin and your stopper in place. So that's a little thing that you can modify fairly easily. If you're crafty enough to cast your own bullets, you are certainly crafty enough to put a little set screw in the mold. Now, Arsenal and the new Lee molds, no, sorry, Accurate is the other custom cutter I use. Accurate and the new Lee molds both have these style rounded, put that out of the way, have these rounded pins. I know it's not showing up very well because everything is carboned up, but there's a good shot of it. Has those rounded pins and hardened bushings, and they open and close really nice. They line up really nice. The old ones didn't have that. They have this type of ordeal where this is machined out and that's rounded off, and then they got these alignment pins here, and well, that's a big pain in the ass. You get your money's worth, don't get me wrong. They're, you know, 30 bucks now, 35 bucks, whatever. If a little bit of lead gets in here, it's really hard to get out and put you out of action quite a bit. So I'm glad they changed that. Now, Arsenal molds, and they make a good mold, don't get me wrong, they have a much thicker sprue plate than Lee has. It's probably almost twice the thickness. It's all the thickness you need. Now, some other places they're even thicker, which is fine. But having a bigger cavity here in these holes is a definite asset. One thing I don't like about this brand of mold, so you see that pin right there, it's not tapered at all. It's got a little rounded end on it, but it's straight, and you can see it doesn't always want to close up perfect. And there's a good, you can see right there the front pin's caught, doesn't want to open, you gotta wiggle it. The new Lee molds and the Arsenal molds don't do that. So if you're looking for an inexpensive mold, I would go with the new Lee molds, these F-shaped bodied ones, which is supposed to dissipate more heat, but I don't know, does or not. Just take a few seconds and drill this and put a little set pin in, like I have in this one. Now, I haven't done this one yet. I haven't used this mold very much. I've only cast about 500 bullets out of this. But as you can see, the plate is quite loose. So, hope you liked the video. Hope it was informative. And hope this gets you out there shooting and avoids any troubles you have with molds.